weekend racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 329, Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
Boy, we are ready for tonight. Red Wings versus Blues in St. Louis. You guys already beat us once this year. I got a feeling you'll do it again this year, or tonight. How you doing?
I'm upset with you. That's how I'm doing. Magic will not bet the game with me. He wants the Blues. He won't take his own Red Wings. And we are decimated by COVID and injuries right now. We literally might have like the backup Zamboni driver playing goal for us by the third period at this point.
We are also dealing with that. We don't have too many stars, and one of them, Todd Bertuzzi, at least as far as I know, is still out. I don't know who will be playing goalie for us. If Alex Nedeljkovic is in, I think we've got a chance. If Thomas Greiss goes in, they just don't play well with him in the net. So that'll just make me want to double down a little bit more. But, hey, I'm excited because we're going to Gulfstream for the first time of the championship meet. This is the first time we get to handicap the Tapeta races there on the show. So this will be great. When we get to it, I want to get your thoughts on the Tapeta race.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's been interesting watching those races the last couple of days. I mean, I'm a sucker for Gulfstream. We talked about it on this show before. I love the fact that we get big field sizes, and the Tapeta races have been coming through with those bigger field sizes, creating some nice payouts here in the pick fours, pick fives, and pick sixes. But man, it's can be challenging sometimes. Today we had Paco Lopez treating that Tapeta surface like it was the New York turf circuit, just absolutely wanting no part of the lead. They went like 25 and change for the opening quarter, going a mile and a 16th, and he was on the lone speed and completely just didn't go to the lead at all. And the 25-1 shot went out there, and eventually he lost because he couldn't close on the horse that was in front of him. So, yeah, it was interesting to see how these jockeys are handling the Tapeta course right now at Gulfstream.
It's, like I said, we'll get into that, and I'll pick your brain about how you like to handicap so far at the meet. And I know it's very fresh, so we're still trying to figure out if there's any trends. But I asked Aaron about it earlier, and he says it's kind of like Gulfstream everywhere. You just play speed when in doubt. So that could work.
We'll talk about when we get to Tapeta. I would go the other way. I think you want closers right now, in mid-pack closers, not like deep closers. But man, when jockeys are intentionally not getting the lead, that tells you all you need to know about the track in my mind.
That's true. Yeah.
Especially when Paco Lopez is doing it. He's an aggressive rider. He's not like, oh, I'm passive and going to sit back here. He's like, I want the lead. I want to go. And when he's choosing not to do that, it makes you wonder.
Maybe Paco just decided he hadn't, played bumper cars enough yet that day, and he wanted to pull back and hit. He had to fill his quota. He needed horses in front of him to hit.
He's probably pissed he doesn't have Irad around to punch.
Give it time, buddy. Give it time.
Yeah.
He'll be around a little bit. Before we get into Gulfstream's card, though, Mike, what's the best thing you saw this week?
This one's actually pretty easy for me. I got to give a shout out to Geist Paddle. This arrived in the mail yesterday. It is a hand-carved, hand-painted bottle of bourbon that was from, I think it was Racing I want to get this right. What is it from? Racing Expressions. It's actually in Del Mar, California. I've not tried the bourbon yet, so I figured appropriate time to try the bourbon would be here on the show. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, snap.
And we're going to try this bourbon out, see how it is.
Don't do it. I also got a bottle.
Okay.
We can try it on the show together if you'd like. We can go cheers.
Is your bottle by you?
It's like 10 feet, 20 feet that way. Okay, I don't know distance. It's close is the point. The kitchen's right there.
I'm looking forward to seeing you show some hustle when you throw up that video before we start the pick four sequence.
And change the graphic, and change the layout, and share a screen. We'll see if we can do that.
I can handle the back end stuff. And it'll be like 40% right, and you can worry about getting the liquor.
Okay, we'll work on that. I like that one. Let's see. The best thing that I saw, the goal save by, who was it? Was it Braden Holtby on Carolina Hurricanes? Did you see this where he had to do not one, not two, but three like miraculous saves? I did not see that. I saw the alley-oop goal. That was also insane. That one like defies logic. Was it the Oilers? Who was that? Somebody where they alley-oop. The guy was behind the net, alley-oops it if you didn't see it. Over the net, goalie doesn't see it, and the other guy is right there, stick at legal height, just right into the net. It was insane.
Pretty incredible.
Braden Holtby went down, he was sliding to make a save. He stops it with like his toe, as another Hurricane guy comes up to get the rebound, he just lifts his leg because now he's sprawled on his stomach, and he literally lifts his leg, hits the toe again, and then he has just enough time to returns on his side, and he stacks the pads and puts the glove up, and at the last second snags it out of the air from a third rebound. It was insane. So you should go check that out. Clearly, we're very excited about hockey. I've gone crazy watching the replays lately.
The fact that there isn't a hockey podcast yet is kind of surprising, considering we got you, me, and Aaron all at the same place who all love hockey. But we'll get there eventually.
We will. All right, I'm gonna see how I can do this here. We're gonna.
I'm ready.
Don't you dare end the video so early, because you'll see me still come running back. We're looking at Gulfstream. I'm going to get ready here. We're looking at Gulfstream Park's late pick 4 sequence on Saturday, December 11th, including the Mr. Prospector Stakes. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. All right, ready to take a look at the late pick 4 sequence, Mike?
Yeah, I am. Your computer wasn't ready, so I was going to add that in for you. I was ready to go completely here on the back end producing side.
That's okay. This thing could sometimes go screwy. I didn't want to be around, but yes, here is the very lovely bottle. Mike, I'll go ahead and I'll turn things over to you here while we get started, and I'll pour. We're going to take a look at the first leg here, which is going to be a race 8 on the card, 6 furlong optional claiming dirt sprint for fillies and mares 3 and up. Non-winners of one other than or a claiming tag of $25,000. 3 of the 4 shortest prices in this field of 9. 3 far outside posts, Mike. You got 3-1 favorite, number 7, Gitana. 4-1 second choice, number 8, Play Era. 5-1 fourth choice, number 9, My Destiny. Where are you going on top?
Well, I'll get there in a second. Jason asked what distillery, so I'm going to just give people a little information here. So this is from it's a Calumet Farm small batch bourbon whiskey. It's been carefully aged and crafted, and it's making a sublime offering. So I'm looking forward to that sublime offering. Yeah, so it's Calumet Farm is the distillery it looks like that we got this from. So this race, and I'm before we go into this, I am taking a wild swing on this pick 4. If I connect on this pick 4, the minimum it will pay is probably $1,000 because I am singling an 8-1 shot against multiple favorites. So if we can get through that 8-1 shot, we're going to have at least 4 horses in every other race. So we're going some wild coverage. And I'm using the word wild because I'm putting Wild America on top here. Give me the 4 horse with Luis Saez up. This is 6 furlong sprint at Gulfstream. I want speed. And when I look at this, I think the Wild America is going to end up being your speed horse. It's a Michael Stidham horse. American Pharaoh has shown speed in every single one of its starts, showed speed at 5 furlongs. There's often a lot tougher to do, was able to open up. We're getting first off a longer layoff later in the 3-year-old season. The breeding here is strong. You've got multiple winners. The dam won 7 times, including 5 dirt wins. All 3 foals have been winners. I think that if Wild American can take a nice step forward here late in the 3-year-old season off the layoff and control the race up front in a race where I don't see a ton of other speed, and you get Luis Saez, you get 10-1, we're going to try and start this out with a double-digit horse. We're going to go with Wild America on top. Other must-use for me is the 7 here. Gittina just makes a ton of sense in this spot. This is probably your most likely pace pressure to Wild America, but I don't necessarily think we're going to see a ton of pressure from Gaffleon, who's going to be outside here. This horse is kind of taking a step forward a couple races in a row. Tossed the last one out. The race was in slop. This horse is running slop 3 times. Hasn't run well at any time, any one of those races, so have no issue with the last effort. If you go 2 back and 3 back, it puts this horse right in it. I have a feeling Gitana is going to sit right outside of Wild America, and turning for home, I think those are the 2 horses that have the best chance to win the race.
So I agree with you on one of them, and it's not Gitana. I agree with you on Wild America. I went too deep here, and this is the second horse that I used because the way I saw it, Mike, either we have a pace duel between the 4 and the 7, and they both collapse, or the 4 is the lone speed, and you're getting Luis Saez aboard. And who do you want riding a speed horse like this other than Luis Saez? I mean, talk about the jockey upgrade of a lifetime. Nothing against Charlie Marquez, but if you're getting Luis Saez on a speed horse, I mean, especially 10-1, going to be pretty great. I went too deep, like I said. The other one I used is going to be the 5, Awesome Anne Marie. I think that if there is that speed duel, this is the one that I think has the best chance to pick up the pieces, and I'm getting a really nice price on her. 3 of her 4 career wins came at last year's championship meet at Gulfstream. Yes, it was a little lesser competition, but I like the fact that those wins came at the championship meet. She wasn't like a summer superstar against a bunch of schlubs. So she's also 3 for 5 at the distance. She's 4 for 8 overall in the Gulfstream Park Dirt. I'm wondering if I'm catching 8-1 on her because of the name on the jersey. And by that, I mean you've got a trainer that's a smaller time trainer. You got a jockey who's pretty small time. The only time these two guys ever teamed up together on this horse before, they lost by a neck. So I think that there's something here with this horse, with this combination. And question to you, because you do follow Gulfstream, am I getting that kind of a price because of the name, or is it the layoff?
Good pick. You're getting it because of the name. I agree with you on this horse in every step, every way that you analyze it. I thought Awesome Anne Marie is the horse that picks up the pieces if this does fall apart. That race that you're referencing, 3 back against Brambleberry. Brambleberry is a pretty good horse at this level at Gulfstream Park, so there's no shame in losing to that horse. And you mentioned that the connections are smaller, and I agree. They're definitely not your banner connections here, but both of them are capable. We're not talking about like 0% jockey, 0% trainer. We've got an 8% trainer with I think it's 12% jock. 13% trainer with a 10% jock. And like you mentioned, the one time they teamed up together, horse runs an 81 buyer, just misses the win. I think 8-1 is a nice price here. I think this is the most logical horse that, if it collapses, is going to be the one that gets it done. This was the 4th horse on my ticket in this race. I also decided to include the 2 horse here, Rest of the Story. This horse coming out of the Palisa barn. I'm a sucker for Jess's Dream, but I love that this horse went for $95,000 off a $4,000 stud fee. I also like the fact that we're cutting back here. I mentioned that, we talked about there may be a lot of pace up front. This horse has shown pace going a mile, going longer distances. If you do get that battle up front, I think that the 2 horse here is going to be sitting right behind the pace setters, and Rest of the Story might be able to get first run. And because we're coming out of a mile race, 6.5, 7.5, 7, a mile, I feel like you're going to see a little bit more stamina here from Rest of the Story, and maybe be able to hang on late in the race. So I'm going to end up going 4 deep here. I'm going to go with the 2, 4, 5, and 7. Hopefully we can get a price home. I'd love to try and beat the 7 here to start this pick 4 ticket off.
I kept looking at the 2 and went back and forth on using her. I feel like the distance is going to be too short for her. I know that she won 5.5 when she was 2 years old, but that's also 2 years old. There's a lot of crazy things happening back then. At this distance, I don't know if I really want to take the bullet on it, especially at 9-2. If I was getting closer to an 8-1, and I get why I'm not, but if I was getting a better price, I think I probably would have used her 9-2 when I'm not that confident in her distance wise. 6 furlongs, but definitely if there's a pace duel, like there could potentially be here between the 4 and the 7, this is a horse that is definitely going to be not stumble bunnying, or shouldn't be stumble bunnying, I should say, as they're coming home. Let's move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 11th. Race 9 is going to send us to the Tapeta Synthetic Course. We are going to be going a mile and a 16th for this $25,000 starter allowance field, 10 males 3 and up, and your favorite number 4, Man on the Moon at 7-2 for Bob Hess Jr. He was second last out in his first spin over the course. So I guess my first question for you, like I said, I want to talk to you about your synthetic handicapping at Gulfstream so far, and then also who do you like on top?
Yeah, so do you want to do cheers first?
Oh, yes. Cheers to Geist Paddle.
Cheer here. It's good. Smooth. I like it. I'm a fan. Okay, so first off, the synthetic surface. You don't want to be on the lead. Period. It seems like everyone who's winning is coming from off the pace. We've had a couple pace meltdowns, but those have kind of been more rare. It seems like you really want to be sitting in that, we'll call it 3rd to 5th spot, somewhere in that range where you're able to make a move around early around that first turn, because you're not seeing a ton of shuffling later in the race either. So for me right now, I'm looking for horses that can sit mid-pack. Not really looking for horses that are lone speed. I was trying to do that a little bit more today, but after watching today's races, it just seems like that course is a little deeper than you'd expect, and so it's a little tiring up front, and that's causing horses not to be able to get the job done wire to wire. So I'm still looking for that mid-pack type horse. It seems like the deep closers are able to get up and get to the 3rd or 4th spot, but they're not able to win the races right now. So it's really all about kind of that stalking set of horses. And so when I'm looking at this type of race, that's kind of the horses I'm looking for. It's interesting because there's not a ton of speed here, which I thought was one of the more challenging parts of handicapping this race. You could easily end up trying to go with a horse like the 7 and just say, hey, I think this horse has a shot at wiring the field. And after I said all of not playing speed, I think you kind of have to include the 7. I've got this horse as my deep ticket horse. It actually was the last one on here because I didn't want to go down with a wire-to-wire horse. But for me, I really liked the effort last time out from Devoted Kitten. One thing that we're starting to see now are horses that have run over this track multiple times. And the 3-horse Devoted Kitten won last time out on a $10,000 claiming race, was able to absolutely air the field, was 5 lengths back early, kind of closed the 3 lengths back and got the job done, going a mile and a 16th, exact same distance over this course, ran a career best, 83 buyer that day. It was his first effort on synthetic. Everything points to this horse running well again. As you kind of learn more and more about the synthetic side of it, Kitten's Joy is one of those horses that have done very well as a synthetic sire. So I'm looking for Kitten's Joys when I'm looking through here. So I'm going to use the 3 horse as a must use. And then the other horse I think is interesting, and this is one where it's going to be, I'm really interested to see how Bill Mott does. I'm going to use the 9 Land Biscuit as well as a must use. Mott in synthetic is not something you hear all that often. This is only his 3rd starter on synthetic. He had 1 today. The horse ran pretty well, but it's going to be something where you're going to see some of these trainers who, if you're not a Woodbine trainer, if you're not a Golden Gate trainer, if you're not a Turfway trainer, you don't run on synth very often. So the New York circuit and some of the Midwest, and you do see some of those trainers at Turfway, are all going to be trying something new here. So it's going to be interesting to see how those trainers do as well. I think that's something important to watch. But this horse just seems like it's bred up and down to be able to handle it. Orb, 10% on synthetic, but 10% overall. So it's about what you'd expect from Orb there. I just love the fact that Mott is going to try and put this horse down here. I think this is a drop in class out of those $50,000 allowances at both Belmont and Saratoga, which are notoriously difficult. And you look at who some of those winners are. I mean, those are tough races. So I think we're getting a drop in class here. I think that the switch over to the synthetic should be about a neutral move for this horse from his turf to synthetic numbers. And I like the fact that we get Velasquez up. So I'm going to go with the 3 and the 9 as my 2 must-use horses, but I did end up 4 deep here, so I got 1 more I'm going to definitely talk about.
I went 3 deep here, and you nailed 2 of them. I Devoted Kitten. Neither were my top pick, but I do like both of them here. I also love Land Biscuit's name. I'm a sucker for that. I really do love Land Biscuit as a name, but I like that Johnny V is going to be riding for Bill Mott, like you were mentioning. Devoted Kitten. I like the fact that the horse last out was forced to go really wide and take back because of it being forced wide. Ends up having to close into 25.5, 49 flat, 113 and 3. And wins by 3. Now, I know those were 10K claimers, but that's not easy for any horse to do like that, especially when they're trying synthetic for the first time. So I really like the 3 as well. My top choice, I'm going to chalk out a little bit. I'm going to take the 4, Man on the Moon, as my top pick. That race 3 back to me really stood out at Del Mar. It was on the dirt. It was against 16K claimers, but that race showed to me that if this horse can break cleanly and get a good early lead, that's what he can do when he's alone. Edwin Maldonado is a pure speed jockey in California. Oh, look, we're getting Luis Saez here in Florida. Last out, this horse was drawn 7th of 7, very wide, and Camacho had to pull back because he tried to go forward, so did 5 horses to inside. They were poised to go 6 deep into that turn. Camacho was like, well, this is going to get me fired. So he pulled back and had to go all the way back from 6th, several lengths back. And he almost closes into it, again, with those very, very slow fractions. So I'm going to use the 4 on top. Did the 4 make your ticket? Because you said you went pretty deep.
No, and this was the last horse off my ticket. So this would send my ticket's $40. This would make it $50. I ended up, so I used the 7 because the 7 is obviously Lone Speed in this spot. And I'm not going to let Lone Speed beat me, especially we talk about Jack Sisterson all the time on here. The right time to bet Jack Sisterson is when you're getting 15 to 1. So this is the right spot to bet him. So I'm going to include the 7 here, just a wire-to-wire candidate. I was between the 4 and the 6, and I landed on the 6 mainly because of the price. You're getting 6 to 1 versus a 7 to 2 morning line, and I'm not so sure that the races that the 4s come out of are all that good. And because of that, it kind of makes me want to take a step back and not play the 4. I also think the 4 wants to be a little more forwardly placed. And so I'm concerned that the 4 horse is going to be in a spot of the track, which I'm not as interested in. You look at the 6 horse, again, proven over this track, won last time out at $20,000 claimers, ran a 79 buyer. That was by far the best buyer this horse has run in a while. You had a 77 the previous race where, again, the horse ran well over the synthetic track. I like the trip I think this horse is going to get. This is exactly the type of horse I'm looking for. Someone who's going to sit mid-pack, be able to make one big move. This horse was 4 wide and still absolutely blew that field out. And that was one of the faster races that you've seen on the synthetic. I mean, 24, 48, 112, 142 for a mile and 70 yards. It's actually pretty quick for how this synthetic course is playing. So for my money, that the 6 horse was in there over the 4. But to me, you could go back and forth, and you could add the 4 if you want to make this a $50 ticket.
Before we move on, Dr. Tang in the chat, good to see you, Dr. Tang. He's asking about the 8. It's an Antonio Sano horse. It says he likes it at 8 for a long shot. It could be in a good stalking position. He doesn't want to leave Antonio Sano off. Listen, the only time Antonio Sano has ever benefited me, I bet Gunnevera in the, Holy Bull? Yeah, Holy Bull race. That was the one time that Gunnevera and Antonio Sano worked out for me. So what do you think about the 8?
Yeah, the 8 is going. See, the 7 and the 8 are your 2 speeds. The 7, I think, is clearly faster, right? And so then the question of is what trip do you expect out of the 8, and do you think the 8 can win without the lead? And that was really where this case fell apart for me. The 8 doesn't seem like a horse who's going to be able to stalk and then get the lead, and then hold off the horses that are going to be coming from behind. And so I just felt that there was too much to do for the 8 in this spot, so I didn't end up using the horse. But I understand if you say, hey, I don't want the 7, but I'm going to take the 8 who's going to get first run. I totally would understand that. But I think you either use the 7 or the 8. You can't really use both here because you don't want to have 2 speed horses if you're going 4 deep on the synthetic right now. And so you kind of have to pick between the 2. I chose the 7 because I want the horse in front, who I think just has to do what they did last time, versus the 8, who I think is going to have to be able to show a new dimension and then hold horses off.
Well, if you like Jack Sisterson at a price, I got another one for you in the next leg here, the penultimate leg of the late pick 4 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 11th. This is the feature race, the Grade 3 $100,000 Mr. Prospector Stakes. It's a 7-furlong dirt sprint. You got 7 males 3 and up in here, including your 2-1 morning line favorite is Dennis's Moment. I cannot believe this horse is still here. I also can't believe this horse won last time. I thought this horse was never going to win again. So he wins at Keeneland, gets a big 92 buyer, and he comes in here with a whole bunch of steam, and we're both playing against him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, and this is where I'm stepping out on a limb a little bit. I'm gonna single up the inside horse. I'm gonna single up the 1 Flapjack, and hopefully we can get a 6-1 price home as a single here. If we're able to get this horse home, it's gonna be an absolute monster number for this pick 4. I agree with you on Dennis's Moment. Him putting back-to-back races together has been a problem consistently in his career. I don't feel like he's gonna come here with a big A effort. So I think he's a pretty solid play against. I just don't trust Endorsed enough with the other short priced horse here, the 4 for Mike Maker. So you kind of look at those 2 horses and I'm like, yeah, I don't really love either of them. So what am I going to do? I want a horse that's going to come from off the pace a little bit because I think there's a ton of speed in here and we're going 7 furlongs. So when I went through this, I'm like, who's going to come from off the pace? Who can handle 7 furlongs? Who's improving? All those things point to the 1 horse Flapjack. I'm getting 6-1. I think that this is a nice spot to try and take a swing and really separate yourself.
I agree that you take a swing. I didn't take that big of a swing. I didn't take an Adam Dunn size swing. But listen, I mean, you're nailing it in playing against Jack Sisterson in this sequence twice. I really hope it doesn't burn me because he has a tendency to do that on this show sometimes. I went and actually independently of Aaron Halterman, who did this. We can catch the full preview for this from Aaron over at the YouTube channel right now. YouTube.com/Racing Dudes. We did this and the Los Al Futurity earlier. He and I both saw this pretty much the same way, and we both really like the Saffie Joseph Jr. horses on top, starting with the 2 Wind of Change at 3-1. His horse has had really good form at Gulfstream Park. It's held up pretty well. Scratch off the Saratoga race, the Tail of the Cat earlier this summer. Everybody knows Saffie was ice cold. He was kind of being watched a lot. I understand why. This horse was 4th in this race last year after setting a really wicked pace. We're getting a jockey change partially because of that, but it is 4th last year. But Forense Fire, Mind Control, and Sleepy Eyes Todd were all in that race. There ain't none of those horses here. Nobody even close to those level of horses is in this race. So he could go gate to wire. You don't know what's going to happen with the real horse adding blinkers, but I do like Wind of Change at 3-1, and I really like the 7 officiating too. We're getting Luis Saez aboard, who doesn't usually ride for Saffie Joseph Jr., but if you scratch off that last race when he was trying to route on synthetic, the race 2 back, he was in the slot, but he won the Bears Den Stakes over this distance, over this course. It was in the slop, and it was against straight 3-year-olds, but again, this isn't a big field of world beaters. This isn't, last winners of this were Sleepy Eyes Todd, Diamond Oops, Cole Front, XY Jet won this race twice. There's nobody like that, so I feel like, especially at 12-1 on the other Saffie, I think he's got a good shot here. I also like 3-back that he was this close to beating they were Florida breds, but older Florida breds, tougher group than what a lot of these horses are. It was on the turf, but he's got game to him. I like him.
Yeah, I actually looked long and hard at the 7. So I was originally, when I constructed this ticket, and the reason I ended up singling here is because I wanted to be able to go deeper in other legs, and I felt that was a big time separator if I could get the 1 home. I originally was going to use 3 horses here, use Endorsed, use the 1, and use the 7. Because those were the 3 that I thought made the most sense. Again, I think there's going to be a ton of pace. I don't like Wind of Change at all here. I could see that why. I understand that the premise that this horse could wire the field. I think the 3 horses you're actually your speed in this race. I don't think the 2 gets the lead. And if that happens, I think Wind of Change is a world of hurt. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see a similar pace setup to last time. And I just want no part of that horse going sub 45 and going 7 furlongs. And that's why I kind of took both of them out. I just don't see any choice but for the 3 Poppy's Pride to absolutely send. Has absolutely no chance at winning the race at 20-1. Right. Don't get me wrong. But the horse has 21.44 speed. And that's a problem for the 2. Because if you have one way to go with the 3 and it's send and the 2 horses sitting there on the inside trying to protect the inside, all of a sudden the 2 is getting just absolute fire being breathed down his neck the entire time. And then has to figure out how to hold off some of these horses. And so if the 2 and the 3 go to town against each other, I don't want either part of them, and especially at the price I think the 2 is going to end up going off at. So for me, I thought the best way to do it was to try and look for closers. Endorsed, I think, is the better closer there. So the 4 is interesting to me if you're going to go deeper. But the 1 horse should sit the perfect trip and gets the pace to run into, and the 7's interesting at a big price.
Endorsed was my last one on, and I didn't want to do it because I don't like the price 5-2. My ticket's going to be pretty small because I'm a little chalky in the middle. Not little, I am chalky in the middle legs here. But listen, first of all, I'm playing against Gaffleone and Maker in the last race. I don't want to do that again here. You do that twice back to back, you're asking for trouble. This horse has got good form at Gulfstream Park. Exit's a pretty good race at Churchill going 7. Where he missed by a half a length. This is a horse that was claimed for $100,000. They probably entered him at that race at Saratoga not thinking anyone would want a 5-year-old horse that isn't really all that great form-wise for $100,000. But Mike Maker and Mark Breen did it, and they keep campaigning this horse. And so I like the fact that they keep trying, keep pushing with him. Again, that price is a big, but like Mike said, I think this is probably your best closer. So we'll see what happens there. Were there any other horses here that scared you, or are you good to move on to the last one?
No, I'm just going to fade Dennis's moment. To me, that was the big thing to take away from this race is if you're going to play one of the 2 favorites, I think, well, I guess one of the 3 favorites, really, because I guess the 2 is 3-1 here. I think Endorsed is the horse that's the correctly priced horse in this spot. I think both Dennis's moment and Winded Changer will be over bet and each should be closer to 5-1 in this spot. You're going to get significantly worse than that.
Well, if you wanted to play against Gaffleone and Maker all day long, you can do it again in the next leg here, the final leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 11th. We've got race 11, which is a mile and a 16th turf route for maiden 2-year-olds. If you're Florida bred, you run unprotected. It's a maiden special weight. If you're not a Florida bred, you run for a $50,000 tag, and that includes both your favorite number 7 and Uninvited Guest at 4-1, and your second choice number 5 Solar Tap at 9-2, both in for $50K tags. Did you use either one of them on top?
So I used the 4 horse on top here, KC Chief, and this is one of those spots.
Okay, Jared.
What? Oh, yeah. I didn't even get that. I didn't even get the name reference. Interesting. I'm not sure how you get KC Chief out of those names either. Look, these races, they're generally not the best races in the world. Let's just be honest here. So we got, the one thing that you want, especially at the Gulfstream turf, is to be forwardly placed. And so when I go through a field like this and I can't really tell who's going to definitely be in the lead, and I find Jaramillo on a speed horse that's breaking rather inside, I'm immediately interested in that horse. So the 4 horse KC Chief, I think, is a threat to go wire to wire here. You're getting 8-1. I like the fact that we showed pace on the synthetic last time. Yeah, we folded a little bit around the turn, but the horse gets claimed out of a $35,000 claimer, and now we're moving up to a $50,000 claimer. I think that shows that they believe they made a good claim. And then I like the fact that the last workout here was 48 around the dogs on the turf. And that's the first time we've seen the horse work on the turf. So they clearly think they found the correct surface here with the surface change from synthetic over to the turf. I tend to agree with them, and I think they found a good spot here. There's not a world beater in here, and I think that you're going to see the 4 horse KC Chief get the lead. I did use the 7 Uninvited Guest as well. I kind of think you have to. I'm really interested to see what these prices end up at because I'm using 5 horses and 4-1 is the lowest. And after that 8-1 shot, everything else is double digits here. So I'm interested to see where the actual money flows in because I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of different changes based off of the morning line. I don't think you're getting 4-1 here. I think you're getting more like 5-2, and I think you're going to see some other horses float around. But that last effort on the turf at Belmont was pretty good. Breaking out of the 12 post is not something you want to do. Going a mile on the Belmont turf, that's what this horse had to do. It was hung wide on both turns. Was able to make a nice move, kind of flattened out to finish in third. But you look at like who it faced in the first 2 races of its career. That Monmouth race not that great, but you look at that $100,000 race at Saratoga. I mean, that's a very, very good race with Seal Beach, Carp All Day, and Chat a Lot that were are all in that race. So you have a good race there. The turf effort was solid. Now you get second off the layoff, and this is a $400,000 horse now in for a $50K tag down in Florida. I kind of think you have to use the 7. So the 4 and the 7 are my 2 must-uses in this spot.
So, first of all, Mike, before the show started this morning, we were deciding Gulfstream. He said that he predicted this would be the race where I went the deepest. You're right, with an asterisk that I never went larger than 3 deep. I went 3 deep in the last 3 legs of this pick 4 sequence. So you're right with a tie. Do you okay? We'll still give it. It counts for a win.
I'll take it. You didn't go deep enough here because you're probably not. You're probably well. You didn't use the Maker, the 12 horse. You definitely didn't go deep enough.
I did not use the 12 horse, the Maker horse. I did use one of the 2 horses you discussed, and it is not the 7 Uninvited Guest. It's actually the 4 KC Chief.
So you should be 5 deep here too. You should add the 12 and the 7 to your ticket, and you're good.
I'd add the 12 before the 7. The 7 I don't like at all because Todd Pletcher has a 3-year-old filly named Lady Valentine who I have through my racehorse. Lady Valentine and Uninvited Guest throughout the summer were workmates. Lady Valentine is still a maiden. Uninvited Guest is still a maiden. Neither one of them are very good horses. At least this horse took the claim drop, like probably should have done. But I don't like this horse just because I've watched him enough because I'm like, well, this is Lady Valentine's workmate. Let me see how it does in races. I don't see anything that I like. And again, also the way that I structure, because your ticket's different, I went very chalky in the middle two legs of this. I can't keep taking favorites here. I did use the 4 Casey Chief. You touched on it perfectly. I won't go further. I used the 5 and the 6 as well in this race. I love Luis Saez getting aboard the 5 for Mike Stidham. I like this horse I think this is going to inject some speed. First of all, this horse really showed speed on Delaware on wet dirt in the debut, but ever since then got bumps in the second race when he was trying turf. Also in that race, by the way, that was a runaway winner. General Ken was like 4 lengths ahead at the first quarter mile park. The fact that this horse passed everybody else, and well, this horse has got some talent in here. I do like that it's Mike Stidham. We're trying turf again after finding out synthetic didn't work out here. Getting a better draw than that too, by the way. Drawn, I talked last race about getting drawn outside and forced wide in that first turn. So I used the 4 and the 5 here. The last one I use is going to be the 6 Merlin at 5-1. I think that taking the blinkers off is a smart move because I think 2 starts back, this horse showed that on turf was a very good effort, going 7.5 furlongs, which is 2 turns at Gulfstream. To me, when the blinkers come off after a good effort like that, that tells me that the horse, whatever needed to be fixed, the blinkers fixed it. Now let's take them off. Now let's let the horse run. So I went 4, 5, 6 here. Pretty cheap, pretty small ticket for me.
Yeah, the 5, I get why you'd use it. I don't like the 5 at that price. I think the 5 is going to get bet, and I don't think the 5 has shown enough talent to be able to win this race. I think you have to improve again, and I'm not interested in 3-1 with a horse that I think has to improve. I think you're going to see again, we talked about the connections earlier. Saez and Stidham are going to take money in this spot, especially with a horse that has run well on turf once. Merlin, I didn't use because I don't think Merlin makes the lead, and I'm concerned this horse isn't able to go a mile and a 16th, to be quite honest with you. I mean, those last 2 efforts, this horse was just sucking wind toward the end of those races, and that was at 7.5 furlongs and at 1 mile and 70 yards. I will say the workouts have been wonderful for this horse coming back. You've got a 46-4 or 46-3 and a 59-4 in the last 2 workouts. Both of those bullets, but both of those over the Tapeta, which I also think is interesting because you saw that speed over the Tapeta, and then the horse gave it up at a mile. So I'm a little concerned about the distance and the fact that the 6 can't make the lead. Can I get a little kooky now?
Absolutely. I love when you get kooky.
All right. We're getting a little crazy here. So my third pick in here is the 1 horse, Captain Sensible on the inside. Look, they wanted to get this horse on the turf first time out. The race was rained off the turf. They were not able to do that. The horse had a terrible start. And just kind of the race was over for it, right? They decided to geld the horse, and now we're coming back here in for $50,000, or in a $50,000 optional claimer, going 1 mile and a 16th. And what I liked was the fact that this horse got bet a little bit, down to $6.90 in the first effort. I think this horse might be faster than people expect. I wouldn't be shocked if the 1 horse is forwardly placed in this race and ends up getting a really nice trip and should be nowhere near that 20-1 morning line. And because that first effort wasn't good, I think people are going to overlook it a little bit here. Like I mentioned earlier, I like Jess's Dream as a sire. The turf route numbers aren't wonderful, 5%. But I'm hoping that we can kind of take a nice little step forward here, second out. And the fact that we also gelded this horse, I mean, there's just enough here that I'm interested in seeing what Captain Sensible can do from the inside in a field that I just don't think is very good, and a horse that I think is going to be much more forwardly placed today than what we saw in that debut effort. So at 20-1, I'm going to get a little kooky with the 1 horse Captain Sensible. And again, like I said, we are elephant hunting with this ticket. We've got a 6-1 single, and we are playing multiple horses over 10-1 here. I'm going to use 2 other horses in this spot. We've kind of joked about it a little bit. I'm going to use Test of the 12, Hate the Post. Love the fact that we're adding blinkers. Connect, another son of Curlin here, is the sire of this horse. And I'm interested to see what we can do from this outside post. I don't want to leave Maker and Gaffleon off. I also like the fact, again, that this horse took money in a field of 12 at Keeneland, an $83,000 maiden special weight. The horse was bet down to about 8-1 first time out. Now we're getting a second start, and we're going over to turf. If that first effort was a learning experience and the 12 Testa can get a little bit better break, get a little forwardly placed here, I think you got a shot for that horse to take a big step forward. And the last I'm going to use is the 11 horse Giardini. This is one that's run against Maiden Special Weight Company 4 times. The last couple efforts have been a little bit better over the turf course. Now we're going to drop down into maiden special weight level. But I like Jane Sibeli at this meet. She generally does very well in a couple of these spots. And one of them is these younger 2-year-olds running. This is an interesting spot for her to put this horse in. She's actually got 2 in this race. I considered using the 9 Giant Spain as well. So that's another one at a price if you want to take a shot. 10-1, tried the turf the first time, ended up raining off. They went to synthetic. Now we're getting leopard room. We're getting back on the turf. I think the 9's interesting as well, but I went with the 11 instead, who has a little bit more built up turf pedigree here. The horse was gelded earlier in the year before going into the turf. It's kind of taking a step forward. And then the fact that Sibeli is really good off this type of layoff. She's 25% with a $2.39 ROI. I'm going to take a shot with the 11 at 6-1 as well.
The 11, I looked at it a little bit, didn't end up using. The 12, I really don't like. Connect, the sire, is 2 for 39 as a sire on turf. That's 1 for 18 in sprinting, 1 for 21 running. I don't like that horse. However, a horse I did like that I ended up not using, that you convinced me to put back on my ticket, is the 1 horse. So I'm going to go 4 deep here because I really did like the 1, and I was like, nah, I'm overthinking this. And you pretty much said everything that I was thinking. And I thought, all right, well, if Mike thought it, then I'll go and use. By the way, you love Jess's Dream. One of the few horses to ever give us any fantasy points last year was Chess's Dream, who won a turf stakes race and got us 5 points. And that's how bad our fantasy team was last year.
And I did not. I faded that horse that day. That was wonderful.
You did. That's the best part is you faded. Knocked you off the ticket. I shouldn't laugh about that. But, yeah, the 12, to me, and it's funny because I mentioned if you're going to play against Gafflin and Maker in the first 2, you've got to use him here. I didn't because I used last time. I think I would like this horse if he was drawn a little bit more inside. But, again, the Connect being a very poor, so far, limited sample size on turf, I'm going to pass for now.
Yeah, I mean, this race is wide open, man. I mean, you could look at the 10 risk versus reward. It's a practical joke horse, first time trying the turf. The 9 we mentioned, Giant Spain, first time trying the turf. That seems to want the turf. The 2 horse that Dr. Tang mentioned, T-Ville, runs well on the turf first time out. We haven't seen him back on the turf since. I mean, there's a lot of different angles you could go here and a lot of different routes you could take. So, I mean, I think this is a great leg to try and find a price. And if you have a big opinion, it's a great leg to try and go short to separate yourself. But to me, like, look, I think that who gets the lead is critically important here. I think the 4 and the 1 are the 2 most likely horses to get the lead. And if either of them does, I think they're both dangerous out front. And the 12, like you said, if the 12 was in the 2 or 3 post, I would have the 12 maybe on top, maybe in the second spot. But for me, that was the 5th horse in because of the post position draw.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to talk about Gulfstream Park's late pick 4 for this Saturday, December 11th. If you want a full preview of the Mr. Prospector Stakes, again, go to youtube.com/racingdudes. Aaron Halterman did a full in-depth preview of these top picks and the long shots he likes in that race. You can also see the low sell futurity. Well, it's 5 horses. Bob Baffert has 2 of them, but we talked about it anyway. You can go check that out. If you're watching live the replay, thanks for joining us. Give us a like, a thumbs up. We appreciate it. You can look below. We have our tickets down here. I'll go ahead and give out mine first. I'm going to start off going 4-5 with 3-4-9 with 2-4-7 with 1-4-5-6. That's $36. And Mike Somich, you no longer have an asterisk. You were correct. I went 4 deep. The deepest I went was in that last leg.
Bang. Pay up, buddy. Use that. We'll just roll it over into this Blues Wings game. I mean, we got to do something on it. Anyway, yeah, I played a 50-cent ticket here. I'm gonna take a big time swing for the fences. I'm gonna go 2, 4, 5, 7 with 3, 6, 7, 9 with 1 with 1, 4, 7, 11, 12. For 50 cents, that'll cost you $40, and it's going to pay if we can get this puppy home.
Aaron says 4 deep, about right for you, huh, Magic? I was laughing because I don't know if you were watching the backstage at all, Mike, but Aaron was sitting alone in the dark watching us, and it was kind of creepy because only the light from his computer screen was lighting his face, and then out of nowhere, his wife walked in and turned on all the lights, and the thing like blew up, and then it was very distracting for a minute back there. What was going on? Michael Myers joined the show a little late. He wants to know what's in our lemonade. Michael Myers.
I think he's actually making fun of me because I put ice in it. And so yours is that dark brown color, and mine looks a little more lemonade-y now. So I think that is the correct reason why he's mocking me for putting the ice in. There are very few things that I will try first time without ice because I don't know like how sharp they are, and I think that you really have to get that blend right. If I did this over again, I'm going to put less ice in this next time because this is smooth enough. You don't need the ice to bite through it. I didn't know the quality here, so you gotta I'd rather be safe than sorry when it comes to trying something for the first time.
Hey, that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I would have put ice in mine if I had another 8 seconds, but I didn't. I honestly, because I also didn't have my headphones in. I didn't know where we were at in the video until I came running back in and landed and almost fell a couple of different times. My wife had no idea or understanding why I suddenly bolted and ran off like that.
Your athleticism really shone through. We only get back with the headphones on and everything in that small amount of time we had.
Over at racingdudes.com/sports, we have free picks and analysis from Papa Dude for all of the NFL action happening this weekend. And also for college football, Dudes Who Bet Sports 33, looking at the NFL and talking a little bit of early bowl previews, was live as well. So you can check that out at youtube.com/racingdudes and wherever you're downloading or listening to podcasts. Mike, your thoughts on the Thursday night football play tonight?
I probably couldn't hate a game more than I hate this game. Like, just to be completely blatantly honest, like, I could probably list 500 things I'd rather do than lay some points on a Thursday night game with the Vikings and their quarterback. But at the same time, I could probably list 500 things I'd rather do than bet on Ben Roethlisberger right now with his half of an arm and just like overall ineptitude. So this game is hideous. I mean, it's hideous, and it's going to come down to how many times do the Minnesota Vikings shoot themselves in the foot? And is that too many for the Pittsburgh Steelers to actually take advantage of something? I mean, this is just brutal. If you want to bet anything, maybe betting the over in sacks would be a good idea. It's like Kirk Cousins going to get sacked, and Ben Roethlisberger literally can't move. I mean, they bring him out in a wheelchair, and then he gets tilted up and stands there and throws the ball. So, like, and both of these teams have good defensive ends. So, yeah, I wouldn't hate the idea of that. Yeah, Justin Jefferson should have a game. I mean, you got their other wide receiver who's going to be out tonight. So Jefferson in, and he's really the best target for them anyway. But with Thielen out, he's going to get additional targets. So Jefferson should have a game. His anytime touchdown, his over receiving props probably make a ton of sense there. Look, the Vikings should win, right? Like, this is one of those spots where, like, the look ahead was significantly higher to the Vikings' favor. The Steelers looked a lot better than they should have last week because the Ravens secondary was ravaged with injuries going into it, and then took another. Yeah, right. It's the two teams that can't beat the Lions. It's a Thursday night. How shitty is this? This is going to be one of the worst coached games of the year, and that's saying something coming off that Bills effort against the Patriots. Like, this is an absolute train wreck of a football game. So I would lean toward taking the Vikings, but God, I don't want to lay the points. I would probably play moneyline Vikings if I was going to play anything here. Jefferson over TD. Maybe you do a same game parlay, and you go over sacks, Jefferson TD, Vikings moneyline. Right. I also kind of like the over here, but I don't trust the Steelers offense. That's the biggest issue. It's like because the Vikings should put up 28 points. The total is 40 something, right?
44 and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so. I kind of like the over a little bit. I guess maybe the Vikings team total is what I'm talking myself into here. But then I'm betting Kirk Cousins on a primetime game. It's like everything I want to do, I would hate myself for losing money betting on, which is a problem.
I just don't get how you come back from losing to the Lions on the last play of the game. I don't understand how you come back from that this year. I think at this point you just fold up, you just shutter the doors, and you say, guys, we're done for the year. Refund all of this season ticket holders.
I don't understand how the Vikings coach has a job right now. I mean,
is it still Mike Zimmer?
It's still Mike Zimmer. And they have blown, I think, 4 or 5 games now in the last 2 minutes of the game. And it's all from, like, just wildly ineptitude coaching. I mean, I watched that final play again like 5 times. I cannot believe how many people they had guarding the back line of the end zone versus how few people they had guarding the actual end zone. I mean, it was just, you call timeout and you run that play and you have a job. Like, I wish I was a football head coach. Jason Garrett kept his job for like 6 years and he was completely inept. Mike McCarthy still has a job. Mike Zimmer has a job. I mean, this is a joke at this point. Now I'm getting upset. Anyway, yo, Vikings, hit me up, man. I'm like 10x better than Zimmer.
That's great. I love that. So we were talking about the Blues and Red Wings are playing tonight in a little over an hour here, right? Wait, what time does the game start? I actually don't. You're in St. Louis Central Time, so what? 2 hours? Game will probably start in about 2 hours.
Yeah, we usually start at 8 when we're in St. Louis. 8 Eastern.
Gotcha. So Aaron has not only just the free NFL picks and the college football picks, but there's also free NHL picks. And if you're wondering how he's doing, well, right there, he's at 89.79 so far, so a bit above 500. That's pretty good. But look at this right here. Ooh, you and I are on the Blues. Aaron Halterman is on the Detroit Red Wings at plus 145. I think he's crazy, but we'll see what happens.
I would, again, we mentioned this at the top of the show. The Blues are decimated with injury right now. We literally have the third string goalie in there. Half the team has COVID. The other half doesn't know they have COVID yet. So, like, it's just a matter of time until we have no one left on the ice. And it's just, me and Aaron out there skating in our Blues jerseys trying to make something happen. Literally no goalie. He looked lost. Like, I still don't know how we beat Florida. Like, he looked lost in the second half of the third period. And the only reason why we didn't lose in OT is because they never touched the puck in OT. If they had touched the puck and got a shot on goal, it was over. It was like it looked like, oh, you remember 1993 NHL 93 for Sega?
Yeah.
When you made the deke move and you went to the backhand and then brought it back to the forehand and the goalie just kept floating out of the goal crease. That's what our goalie looked like the entire third period. Somehow he didn't let a puck by, but like just clueless.
That's funny. I forgot what I was even going to say after that. Because you started talking about NHL 93 and the guy, oh, we have no goalie. That's what it was. The only qualification to be goalie for the St. Louis Blues is once a fight has been completely decided, then the goalie runs in and starts swinging the stick in his fist. That's how you become the St. Louis Blues goalie. I learned that from Jordan Binnington.
Well, I mean, look. If you want to be
Aaron's
the wings
giving me a
goalie,
look. Go back and watch. Bennington never gets in a fight until after it's been decided. Then he acts like a tough guy.
yeah, well, if you want to be a wings goalie, you have to play for another team first. You guys can't. Like, no homegrown talent over there.
This is true. The last one was Jimmy Howard, and he stayed about 10 years too long.
Yeah. Oh, you look at Joseph. You look at Hasek. You're just stealing goalies from other people. You guys are like the Yankees of. How can you be like happy with yourself? You're like the Yankees of hockey. You just paid for your championships, and now you're irrelevant again. And you think you're good.
JD says the St. Louis goal has become as big as the arch.
Well, maybe we should take the over here. Like through all this joking, as we talk through this, the Wings have no goalie. The Blues goalie is trash. Like maybe the over is the play. Although we are dressing again 17 and only dressing 11 forwards tonight, so there's that. We only have 5 defensemen, I think, too. It's ridiculous.
Aaron called you a douchebag. I'm sorry, Mike.
I
don't know why he did that. Probably because you picked the Blues instead of the Red Wings, like he did.
Yeah. Nope. That's it. You got me.
Well, that'll be it for this show. Thanks for joining Mike and I on this episode of the Magic Mike Show talking about Gulfstream. For all the race previews, go to youtube.com/racingdudes. Blinkers Off will be live here, and it'll be on later tonight, Aaron mentioned. But it's a big one because the Fantasy League, the draw for the draft is going to be happening tonight. Aaron's going to go over all the rules, the new teams and everything that's happening. So then there are some rule changes that are happening, not just with the whole Bob Baffert thing. But if you care about the Racing Dudes Triple Crown Fantasy League, you definitely want to tune to Blinkers Off tonight. It'll be really exciting. So make sure you subscribe to the Racing Dudes YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell, and that way you will get notified whenever they decide to go live. You'll get notified about it. But Mike and I will be back on Monday to talk about what's going on and maybe do another little midweek pick 4. If you're playing Oakland Park on Friday, December 10th, we've got the sequence up for that as well for the Magic Mike Show. So make sure you check that out. I am at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Any parting words, Mr. Somich?
If you would like to celebrate every goal on a live stream and talk about a little football goes on, I will be live from 9 to 10 o'clock tonight on the Equinedge YouTube page as well for Good Chalk, Bad Chalk. We've got Charlestown again tonight. Last week was a lot of good chalk. I think we had 5 races we covered, and it was 5 favorites that won. Fortunately, we said that going in, but it looks a little more lively tonight, so I'm excited to play some Charlestown racing.
Well, win or lose with whatever happens with our teams, Mike and I will have fun. We're going to be drinking very well tonight, I think, courtesy of Geist Paddle. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.